kids in the Black community are in crisis. I need you to know that. We're in crisis. We're being battered. We're being abused. We're being mutilated, our souls tormented. And I think people are just not paying attention. And if we are not the ones who are going to step up to the challenge to make things better for our children, for our families, for ourselves, for our communities, nobody will. It was stated earlier. Where did Geneva go? She wants to, Geneva right here. She walked out. She walked out. Geneva indicated that Black women have a history of resistance. That's who we are. It's in our DNA. It's innate. We are going to have to be the ones that are going to right this wrong. And I specifically want to focus on children today, because I think it's very important that we talk about children, and specifically Black girls and black female youth. So I want to start off talking about human rights. I think that's very important. I don't think a lot of us know a lot about human rights. So the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is an instrument. It's an international instrument that says we all, basically just by breathing the air and being human, are afforded and entitled to certain rights. And so the preamble to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states, whereas recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Now that seems very large and very theoretical, but I want you to hold that. I want you to hold that in the core of your solar plexus, your stomach area. Because as I move through this presentation, I think you'll understand a little bit more about human rights and how it relates to the work that we're doing. Okay, so then there's the International Convention on the Rights of the Child. So you have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is this international instrument, this treaty, that says we all have human rights, right? And then there are different treaties that relate back to this main document. So there's the International Convention on the Rights of the Child, which I think that you would be interested to know that every country in the world has signed and ratified this treaty, except for 2 countries. Can you guess?
So the United States.
And
China.
In the UK?
And Somalia. Okay. And so it's stated that the United States has not ratified this treaty because of the fact that they want to allow the juvenile death penalty to continue. And they want to lower the age to 17 to allow those children to get the juvenile death penalty or life without parole. That is the basis for them not signing the Convention on the Rights of the Child. And the Convention on the Rights of the Child states that the child is entitled to special care and assistance, that state parties, and those are all of the countries that are parties to this international document, shall ensure to the maximum extent possible the survival and development of the child. It also states that states parties undertake to respect the right of the child to preserve his or her identity, including nationality. That states parties recognize the right of the child to the enjoyment of the highest attainable standard of health and to facilities for the treatment of illness and rehabilitation of health. It also states that states parties recognize the right of the child to education, and with a view to achieving this right progressively and on the basis of equal opportunity. Now I need to talk a little bit about, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but what I wanted to indicate is that paying attention to human rights is really, really important. We have our Constitution, and we believe in this country because this Constitution is enforced, and because we've had our civil rights movement, that's enough. But it's not, unfortunately, because the International Convention on the Rights of the Child, which is part of this larger UDHR, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, actually is a broader scope within which to bring action against this country for violations against everyone for race, sex, class, nationality, disability, sexuality. Okay? And again, this is not a human rights lecture, but I want you to understand it as a human because you breathe this air. You have certain fundamental rights that are integral in just the fact that you were born. Okay, and lastly, I want to talk about the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, which of course is a treaty that the U.S. has not ratified. And that's actually a really, the rights, the CRC, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, is a really hip treaty. This is a hip treaty too. So it says that all peoples have the right of self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. Okay? So hold that in your space as well. All right. So I want to talk about now, then we're going to go into this video portion, Black girl fragility in the crisis. Okay? I don't know if many of you are aware, but Black girls are committing suicide. They are cutting, and they are skin bleaching. And I say this to you because I remember I was going to see a client. She was in a residential treatment facility, which is a facility where they keep young people who have emotional and mental challenges, right? So I'm going to see her because she was cutting herself. As I was talking to one of my girlfriends on the phone, sister, and I said, yeah, I gotta go. I gotta walk in this facility. I have to see this kid. You know, she said, oh yeah. She said, what's going on? I said, I'm just worried about her. She cut herself. She cut herself, and she kept on talking. And then she says, oh, she's white. I said, no, she's not white. She's black. She's black. And this is another African American professional woman who's also a lawyer. That was shocked that this person that I was talking about was black. I had another conversation with somebody else and a topic of another one of my children came up. She was a cutter, blah, blah, blah. And this other woman, African-American woman, said to me, I said, and I said, and these black girls are really having, she said she's black. This is the second one now. Now this woman is a PhD student, okay? She said she's black? I said, yeah, she's black. And so then there was another conversation that I had with somebody else. And this was another black woman. Same response. And so what I concluded is that that's because I work in the area of child welfare and have worked for so long, this isn't something that's new to me. I was like, we really don't know that our black girls are cutting. That they really are in pain. And all of that leads, the cutting, the suicide, and the skin bleaching is all wrapped up in their identity and their worth. So this is why I go to the internet. You have to excuse me for 1 second.
Do you want us to turn out the lights?
Let me see what I'm doing because I'm not that versed in PC, so I got to figure this out real quick. It was in my presentation, but that's just where I was. No, I just need to go up.
Don't worry, take your time.
I know, I wanted to. Let me see. But that's so true. Who's gonna get me on the internet?
What you trying to do?
You're trying to get that looks like the internet. Try to go to the toolbar.
Okay.
That's Netflix.
Is this what I need to
You
do?
are right.
Thank you.
On your MacBooks.
Yeah, this is real antiquated. I had everything set up, so this is a little bit of a song for me.
I don't either.
And so you're gonna watch 3 videos. We can't play them the entire time because we're time limited, and I'm gonna cut them off at certain points.
Oh, gosh.
Y'all ready?
Can you turn it up a little?
Oh, no. Here we go.
All right, wait a minute.
There's a volume control on the keyboard at the top.
Can somebody work this for me, please?
Can you do it?
I think you would want to go for
Turn it
it.
up on the,
There should be a volume on top of the keyboard somewhere.
That's the loudest it's gonna go.
Oh, it can't hook to the speaker?
Oh, turn the laptop around so the speakers.
That's the highest it'll go.
You wanna start it over?
Yeah.
it'll be real quiet.
Make sure I'm not hitting. It's the loudest it's gonna get.
Saved me from all of that. Told him my whole life story. I gave him my all. He made me feel special, loved. I never, ever felt loved before. And he made me feel that way. He said he'll always be there for me. Been together for 2 years. So I believed it, you know, it's 2 fucking years. But, all that ended today. Well, yesterday. Should probably before yesterday. Because I lived in New Jersey, where he lives, currently in Minnesota. And I've been gone since June 25th. It's February 19th now. It's like 7 months. It's just been hell ever since then. I'm about to just end everything, all the pains and suffering. There's no reason I should feel like this. And he knows how I feel because I told him. My family knows how I feel. I would think this me too. Everyone knows how I feel.
Okay, I just want you to think about that for a little bit, and I'm gonna pull up the next video.
Can y'all see what the website is?
YouTube.
What's YouTube and what's it?
The teen suicide video goes viral.
Say it again?
Teen suicide.
Teenage girl suicide.
Put in Nala Williams. Because a number of them, I mean Morrison, a number of them will come up. These are not gonna be very loud, okay? Hers is gonna be really low.
Can't hear nothing. See if you can, oh,
You might can get captions on there.
Okay, do you wanna show them now?
show how to do caption. Go
It
ahead.
depends, like some videos on YouTube have captions and some don't.
So turn up the volume of the video. See if you can turn the volume up on the video.
That's as high as it's gonna
That's
go.
as high as it's
And
Yeah.
it's not connected, they have an audio system connected in here, so that's why it's playing out of the speakers of
As
the
opposed to
laptop.
the.
The volume is the one, she's doing captions.
Okay. Did you know you did that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, people know.
I didn't know.
See? Thank you for doing that.
Actually, mine might be louder.
Shared with a white person with black fringe hair or different colored hair, and
What is it?
Oh, it's gonna be the same.
It's not synced up.
It's not synced.
and it's just like it's hard because you already feel like you're alone, and then there's not another face that matches yours. I know that sounds really weird to maybe to someone else, but it's like it just makes you feel more alone. You know, it's like you're not part of the
Try to move it back to where they are. What's the number there?
You know, it's like you're not part of the group because
Or we can just pause
everyone
this
else
one.
is doing really weird to maybe to
Pause this for a second.
Oh, no, I didn't.
It's all right, just let it keep going, because you got another video. I need to move through this presentation, because we're gonna get stuck here.
Can you just summarize what she's saying? She's cutting herself? Yeah.
She's basically saying that she's a cutter.
She's a cop.
And she's saying that it's been very difficult for her because she doesn't see people like her, at least that she doesn't know, that cuts.
Right.
And then she was also saying that they believe that we are outspoken and we speak up. That's what
She did
she
say
said.
that.
And so we have nothing we can't talk about.
Well, would you see that, like, do girls who cut, like, congregate and hang out together? Like, I cut too and you cut and we cut together? Like, is that, you're right. So black or white, you wouldn't see other people who cut necessarily.
No, but apparently in circles, when she's having her therapeutic treatments, and she's in
I
circles and it's
see.
talking,
On
there's a lot of
TV,
talking
right?
about
Okay.
white
You
girls
see
who
it.
cut.
I
They're not
see.
talking about black
I
girls.
see.
We don't see
Okay.
all black girls.
Just in general. Okay.
For sure.
What
Someone
other
mentioned
one
over
you
here
going to? I got
the
louder.
issue
Oh,
of
you want- okay, I appreciate-
young
okay, so
girls
I'm going
and
to,
Eating
eating disorders.
Skin
and
bleaching
So that's
addiction.
a very prominent discussion in the medical community. How do we make sure our young girls don't have eating disorders? But then they don't think about that with respect to African American girls, black
They don't.
girls.
Right.
And that's also an issue.
Right, I mean, yeah,
They
so
don't.
the only eating disorder they might think that we might have is overeating, and that's our fault.
No.
Right, that's our fault.
They say, oh, well, black people like have curvy bodies, therefore, you know, it's
Which
no
one is it?
history in that community of eating or binging. And it's like, in terms of the numbers, Black and Latino girls are more likely to have eating disorders, and white girls are actually like as far as to be treated for, which means that, like, doctors aren't screening us.
Right.
They're assuming, oh, skinny, whatever, white must be eating disorder, not us.
And if mental health professionals are not asking those questions,
then you're not gonna
or
get
if
to
they're
the right
not making that
diagnosis.
assessment,
Right.
and they're saying, well, it couldn't be
Right.
cutting or it couldn't be eating disorders because they're black.
What were you
I
gonna
feel
say?
as though it's hard to seek help when you're at that point, if you're cutting yourself, or if you have an eating disorder. You don't want to be shamed for your condition, so people tend not to seek help and they just enjoy.
I agree.
But now that I need these so it's my strange addition, is that?
It's a different one.
I put the caption on it.
Oh my God.
Because it helps me to keep from getting darker. From getting dark. I don't want to be dark. I'm looking right on dark. I use bleach 4 times a day. In the car, at the beach, at church. She says a lot of times it's a beauty regimen. I disagree with her. It is totally addiction.
Thank you, everybody who helped me with these videos. Get that.
So Deborah, how much time do you have?
Yeah, 15 minutes. About 10, yeah. You want to open the, I have opportunity to ask questions, so we adjourn at 3:15.
Okay, so I want to talk about black girls in foster care.
Yes.
And can you dim the lights just a little bit? I just want to make sure that people can read the writing at the bottom. So this is an advertisement for a child to be adopted. Okay? And so you see that regardless of their circumstances, this is what they say. Some foster children have enough hope to rewrite their stories. Do we want to rewrite our story? I mean, that's the question. The very skin and the gender, the body that we're born in, it tells a political story. A story of struggle, a story of triumph, a story of resilience. And right here, you have this child, and I'm sure these people meant well because we have a number of black children that are not adopted and needed to be. But they're saying that they have hope to rewrite their stories. Well, I'm going to rewrite the story in a different way. This is about responding to the needs of adolescent girls in foster care. So as child welfare systems across the country begin trauma-informed, a shift must occur in understanding how gender and trauma intersect. Girls and boys experience different kinds of trauma and are impacted differently by trauma. Girls are victimized at higher rates than boys and are more likely to be victims of sexual abuse and sexual assault. Girls tend to internalize their response to trauma by harming themselves and abusing drugs and alcohol and are more likely to suffer from depression and post-traumatic stress disorder. Girls' experiences and responses place them in a significant risk of numerous negative outcomes, including continued victimization, teen pregnancy, and juvenile justice system involvement. So I just want to let you know, this is who we see in the courthouses. So just a little bit, and I didn't give it all in the bio. But I've been practicing in this particular area for 15 years. And we're in 5 counties in the state of Maryland. Our largest county where we represent kids is the jurisdiction of Baltimore City that's predominantly African American. And although these are not girls from Baltimore City, they look just like the girls that we see in Baltimore City. These are children. Well, the people want to recognize them not, because somehow our children are not children. They're treated as grown-ups. When you're handcuffing a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old in the states of Florida and Georgia for temper tantrums, they wouldn't think of doing that to a white child. They wouldn't think of doing that. But this is the face of the juvenile justice system. And you do need to know that black girls are the fastest growing population in the juvenile justice system, more so than black boys. Did you know that? Our girls are in crisis. Let's talk about the disproportionality of children of color in foster care. So the percentage of children in foster care who are children of color, this is in foster care across the country, is 57%. So almost 60% of the kids in care are black, brown, red, and otherwise. Okay? The percentage of children of color in the U.S. child population is 42%. So you see the disproportionate numbers right there. So let's talk about the percentage of children in foster care who are African American, which is the focus of this conference and the focus of this discussion and the focus of my work. 33.9% of children in foster care are black. Yet, in the African American community, children in the U.S. child population, they only make up 15%. That's over 2 times more likely to have children who are black children in foster care. And then you see the other stats. But this focus, again, is on black girls. All right. Black girls in the juvenile justice system. I told you that they were the fastest growing population. 16% of the female population under the age of 18 in the U.S. It's only 16% out of everybody, black, white, all races, all ethnicities. Yet, black girls make up 42% of those in secure detention facilities. 42%. That's almost half. And when you go into certain jurisdictions, when you walk in, it may be about 80, 90% African American, depending on the area of country where you reside. And I'm talking statewide. You can go into a state facility. So just like any other state, Maryland has its urban centers, and it has its concentration of black people. And particularly Baltimore City, also in Prince George's County, which is not an urban environment, so to speak, but Baltimore City is considered urban. But there are several counties in the state that are rural, right? So all of the girls that are coming into detention, who are going to be shipped out to different places, come from all over the state. I went to do a presentation. It's the Waxter Center for Children. And I went to do the presentation to the girls in the facility. 95% of those girls were black. And they're taking kids all across the state. I need you to know that 95% of those girls were black. So let's talk about mental health in the African American community. So African Americans in the United States are less likely to receive diagnoses and treatments for their mental illnesses than Caucasian Americans. African Americans are often at a socioeconomic disadvantage in terms of accessing both medical and mental health care. In 2001, 20.2% of African Americans were uninsured. Okay? Now I want to skip and go down to the very one I highlighted because it relates to children. Across a recent 15-year span, suicide rates increased 233% among African Americans aged 10 to 14, compared to 120% among Caucasian Americans in the same age group across the same span of time. Also highlighted at the bottom because it relates to kids. Children in foster care and the child welfare system are more likely to develop mental illnesses. African American children comprise 45% of the public foster care population. Exposure to violence increases the risk of developing a mental illness. Over 25% of African American children exposed to violence meet criteria for post-traumatic stress disorder. So I want to talk about Black girls and mental health and what I'm seeing in terms of the work that I do. So, okay, we represent kids ages 0 to 21 in our state. Those kids can be in foster care. And so, the population that seems to be the most challenged often are Black girls 17 to 20, because nobody wants to work with them. Because they find that they have an attitude or they're angry. And they're just difficult to work with. The girls that I have selected cross a number of systems. They've been in the custody of the Department of Social Services or your Department of Children and Family Services, whatever you call it in your jurisdictions, for at least 5 years. They've been involved in juvenile delinquency. Now my girls are over 18 and they are facing adult criminal charges, some of them. They've been diagnosed with mental health issues. They take a number of psychotropic medications. They've been at least 5 or more placements. They have educational issues, whether it's behavioral or academic. And what I have found in working with them, these are the main diagnoses that I see for these Black girls. PTSD, depression, bipolar disorder, ADHD or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and oppositional defiant disorder. Okay, real quick, this is about historical trauma, post-traumatic slave syndrome by Dr. Joy DeGruy. I won't go into the depths of it. You need to read it when you get a chance. I'm just moving through because I don't have much time. So, Black girls and their identity. What's happening is they're experiencing structural isms: race, the gender identity, class, sexuality, age, nationality, disability, trauma, which leads to trauma, which leads to prostitution, victim of human trafficking, which informs identity, worth, and value. Consequences of poor literacy skills. I want to pull it all together. Poverty, high school dropout, higher dropout rates in high school, increased teen pregnancy, involvement in delinquency in adult criminal justice systems, high unemployment rates, reliance on public entitlements, participation in underground street economies like prostitution and drug dealing. Which brings me, I'm going to finish up, Deborah, to a program that I wrote and will be implementing at the Department of Juvenile Services in Maryland, building literacy while building identity. And I will be teaching the bluer side to these girls. And the reason why I'm teaching it is this. Building literacy while building identity program focuses on Black girls only, 14 to 20. Okay? It strengthens their identity. It builds literacy and critical literacy skills. It informs positive decision making, builds relationships among Black women and girls, strengthens resilience. It's a safe, nurturing, and supportive space, and it's a space to heal. And why am I doing that? I do that because I am my sister's keeper. If she is suffering, so am I. I had an audio I wanted to play for you, but I can't because of the time. But I wanted to say this. When my girls come to me, and I want to give one example like you did, Geneva, and then I'll close. I have a young girl, my girls cut. Man, I'm not saying cut, some of them cut themselves, some of them cut people. Okay? They do. I'm gonna tell you. They fight, they cut people. They're a little rough, they can be a little rough. And so when one of them turned 18, I said, you've had a number of delinquency involvement, you gotta stop, because they're gonna lock you up. She did good for a couple of years, up until a couple of months ago. And she's aging out in a couple of weeks. She'll be 21, she'll no longer be in foster care. She's a Baltimore City, Black, dark-skinned, gorgeous foster child. And her foster home is in Baltimore County, which is a suburb. And it's predominantly white, although it has a large concentration of African Americans there. She went to court the day I flew here. And I had been in touch with her defense attorney, won't go into the specifics of that. And I'm trying to explain to her over the phone what is going to happen. And when I started trying to do what you did, Janelle, helping her understand the system and her political identity, because her attorney told her to pray a jury trial for a misdemeanor case, and she told her to do that because this judge is tough on these kind of cases, because she got in a fight, and what happened was she got in a fight with another foster girl who was stealing her stuff. The police were called to the house. When the police came, the police were trying to grab her, and she punched him. He told her, shut the fuck up, and she punched him. And he was pulling her hair, and she punched him. She got a resisting arrest charge. Now she's in this white county. Okay? And so she told me, Miss Stephanie, I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should take this judge trial, you know, or get this jury trial. I said, because you don't know what your jury is going to be. I have to tell you, you don't know what your jury is going to be. You got to remember, you are black, you are in foster care, you are dark, and you are a girl. And she did not understand the fullness of that. And I close with this. We have to begin to start teaching our girls how to traverse this very, very difficult terrain. We as black women have difficulty doing it. I'm in court, these microaggressions from these damn judges, and I'm telling you, sometimes I'm not a well black woman, because one of them was going to punch him dead in his face. I swear I was. Okay? So let me be quiet. I wanted to really introduce the fragility of black girls in foster care and juvenile justice when they overlap. Our foster care girls often are in time to the juvenile justice system, moving to the adult prison system, have poor literacy skills, and have weak identities. Fragile identities because of the messaging that we receive about who we are and what our bodies are used for. Thank you.
Both of our speakers for the well-done research and the information you shared with us today, and also the passion.
I need a healing session.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, after those videos, it was really hard to watch.
It would be very helpful for all of us who want to continue exploring this subject. You have so much information. If you would share your PowerPoint presentation.
Absolutely.
Also,
your
put your names on your PowerPoint to make sure that, you know, it's not used inappropriately. Send it to Lagana Lewis, Dr. Lewis, because we very much, those of us who like to follow up with you, to have it's very especially, thank you very much. And now we're open the floor for questions. And you have a question?
I just wanted to I want to follow up on what your program looks like, what you're trying to do, and is it, well, hopefully it'll be replicable to other places, other cities, other
Is there a grant opportunity? Yes, sounds like excellent. Any questions? Let's open the floor for questions. Okay, young lady right over here. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, starting with
No,
me. Okay, I just wanted to make a comment and say thank you both for the presentations, especially the passion you just put in, and I can understand the microaggressions because I tell people at my job I'm not that reformed. So you know, I would slide back quickly to old habits of I'm a cutter, but other people. Let me get away. But also, in terms that we always speaking about resilience, and I don't know if you're aware of I can never remember the young sister's name who had the blog, Pretty Brown Girl.
Yes.
And she just committed suicide. Because we don't realize how much all these effects, it's that whole thing of being tired, of being sick and tired, and how all these things that you put out. You know, people looked at her that she was mentoring other people, but they didn't know that she herself couldn't take the burden anymore. Exactly.
Okay.
Somebody.
Question over. Oh.
No, she was first.
I have been on the board of directors for the Raintree Family Services, which is here in New Orleans, and it is a foster home for girls. And I was right off of H Street, Uptown, Raintree Family Services.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And I was starting to learn that once the child turns 18 years old, that there are no longer any assistance. So that child basically goes back on the street. And we had a situation recently that one of the young ladies was turning 18 years old in April. So it was a rush, you know, she earned her GED, then to get her into college because, you know, there's nowhere for her to go. And thank God she did. She was able to get off into college. And just about a month ago, she had to have emergency surgery. So, but with no family, you know, nowhere to go. And I'm just thankful for the ladies who work there, you know, and even some of the board members to continue on. And now we are, you know, we're doing pretty well, but have got a major corporation to fund, you know, assistance beyond 18, because we're seeing, and 90% of the girls at the house are African American girls. So ladies, I know we're here, I mean, these topics today have really brought tears to my eyes, because it has helped me to, you know, go into some areas that I thought were healed, and, you know, I was really okay, but it just opened up some wounds, some little girl, I guess, that needs to be healed inside of me. So I'm saying that we really have to have just even a greater conviction to do more, to fight harder, and not to give up, because that's one situation there. But I can imagine, you know, in every neighborhood, you know, kids are facing this. And I couldn't, 18 years old, and you're back on the street, you're back where you started, at 18 in the state of Louisiana. So thank you so much. And but this whole experience has been a journey for me, and I have about 17 girls here today.
Dr. Lewis?
Comment
Comment.
to Miss Stephanie Franklin and Miss Geneva Brown. Thank you for what you're doing. I want you to keep that passion. I want all of us in here to change our language from victim to target. You change your PowerPoints from victim to target. It's a different way of experiencing and feeling what is happening to our girls, what is happening to us as Black women, what is happening to us as Black professionals. When we think of ourselves as targets of violence versus victims of violence. That's all I have to say.
And I accept it.
Pretty good.
Well, just a comment,
Thank
you know,
you.
being an educated Black woman, and having a daughter that's an educated Black woman, I saw my educated Black daughter taken out in cuffs because of the domestic violence situation. And this wouldn't have happened in a white house.
Absolutely.
Because he pushed her, she pushed him back, police were called, and this happened not too long ago. And I was devastated, because it was beyond my reality, beyond my scope. And this so feeds into that, you know, my daughter was telling me about the people who were in lockup, who people didn't get out, these kids who are lost. Now, she had a mama that was going straight off, all right, because it was so unfair, and it was beyond my understanding. And sitting here now, you know, so here I'm going, this can't happen. This is unreal. That would not have happened they would not have taken that white woman. They would not have done that and taken her out of her home and cuffed with her kids there.
But what, this, I want to comment on it. I'm sorry, but I have to reject the idea of being a target versus a victim. There is power in this culture of being a victim. You get access to services when you are a victim. The woman who tried to defend herself in Florida, one shot. Right. That's right. She was not perceived as a victim. She was perceived as an offender.
Right.
I'm not a big fan of victimology, don't get me wrong, but there is power because of how we have built a system that you access services when you're a victim versus being an offender, which is what
they felt like she wasn't a victim. She to them was an offender. Right. She was a victim, and she was not respected as a victim.
So we're not part of that typology of saying that we're victims.
Right.
It's a nuance,
But
and
it's
I appreciate what you're saying.
But I actually
nuance.
see them as connected, right? And I feel like it's possible, like, to hold that Black women and girls, and particularly, are targeted by white supremacist, capitalist, heteropatriarchy, and so, like, it's that same system, right?
We have to be seen as vulnerable.
Well, here's
we
what-
have to be seen as victims. We have to be able to get the same services.
Yes.
I
other
agree.
women
I
get.
agree.
And I agree with that, and all I'm saying is, it's important that we are seen as victims in terms of resources, because historically, white femininity is what's victimized, right? In terms of things happen to them, but we are always the ones who are aggressing. But it's also still true that we are targeted also in those same systems that we're trying to access. So I think it's possible, like, to also do both.
Call it what it is.
Yeah, but it's not like an either or. I feel.
Okay, well, we have to wrap things up. I'm so sorry.